we're connecting with our correspondents across the country. I'm beginning from up north. I have Martina Bugri and Albert Sori. Martina Bugri is for the northern region, Albert Sori is for the upper east region. They're joining us with what has happened so far in their regions, and I'd love to hear from you on that. Let's get on Zoom right now as we join our correspondent. Martina, Albert.
Hi, Gifty.
Hi, Gifty.
Okay, so I have Martina, I have Albert, I have Fred Kwame Asari, and I have Nathalia Kwanzaa. Good to have you guys. Let me begin with Martina. We start from all the way from the north. Martina, what is the latest in your region as far as COVID-19 is concerned?
The latest is that we have 34 cases, and these are contacts of the 2 people who tested positive after the foreign nationals, that's the Guineans and the Burkinabés. Their contact tracing has resulted in the current cases that we are getting. Now, the region started with 10 cases, and that's those foreign nationals. Then 2 people came, contracted the disease, and then their contact tracing got 200 people. And out of the 200, the figure jumped, and then it went to 19, then it went to 20, and then currently we have 34. I must say that the regional health director we spoke to some few days ago was worried that because of the delay in the release of the results of the 200 cases they had sent to, there was the fear that we're going to have crisis in the region. He says there's going to be a challenge in tracing those contacts. But we are told that they have started the contact tracing as we speak now. That's the current situation.
That's the current situation. I'll come back to you as we deal with a little bit more of the other dynamics. But let me connect with the Volta region, Fred Kwame Asari. Fred, let's start with what's the latest is, starting from telling us from where you started. Okay, looks like Fred is unable to hear me. Martina, let me stick. Okay, Fred, you'll have to unmute your sound. Do you hear me, Fred?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Fantastic. So tell us, as you heard Martina say, Martina takes us through the genesis of the outbreak in her region, how it started and where they are now. Can you give us that breakdown before we go along?
All right. So the Volta region recorded the first batch of cases on April 12th. That was 9, out of which 6 were recorded in the Ketu South municipality. As we speak now, we have 44 cases in the Volta region, 44 active cases in the Volta region. Hohwe has 10, who has 8, who has 2 cases. Akachi South has a case, and then Ketu South has 22 cases. Agotim also recorded a case, but then as we speak, there is an additional case in the Hohwe municipality, which brings cases in Hohwe to 11. So out of the 44 or 45 cases, 11 were recorded in Hohwe, which means that Hohwe is gradually becoming the epicenter in the Volta region. But then also 28 out of the 45 cases, I should say, have recovered. We still have some 14 more cases that are at the isolation center, out of which 11 are housed in Ho, and then 3 are in Hohwe. I spoke to the Deputy Regional Director earlier, and he mentioned that 4 of the people or the persons who were infected with the virus and are at the isolation center have not exhibited symptoms, but then the rest have exhibited symptoms, and then they are responding to treatment.
We'll break this down to a very, casual conversation, if I should put it that way, to put all of you at ease. We just want to have a very fun-filled regional conversation, although we're dealing with a very difficult subject. So, since we're in the Volta region, let me come to you, Ivy. I'll come back to you, Fred. Ivy, what sort of response are we getting from the residents? We've reported about how some of them are hesitant to wear masks, etc. Take us through the response that residents have given so far. Ivy, do you hear me? Okay, I'll stick with Fred for a while longer. Fred, you've talked about the case count and you've talked about what the regional directorate says they're doing. In terms of the treatment, What more can we know about how it is being treated? I mean, there are several places where we went and heard that residents are not happy with siting of isolation centers. What is the story in your area?
Well, here in the Volta region, I should say there are two isolation or treatment centers. There's one in Poko, and then there's also one in Ho, that is outskirts of Ho. So, as reported in other parts of the country where residents are not happy with the siting of isolation centers, I should say that here in the Volta region, there has not been any complaint with that. Also, with regards to how treatment is being done, I have not gotten much information on how treatment is being done or what model of treatment is being used to treat these persons that have been infected with the virus. But I should say that I spoke to the authorities earlier, and then they confirmed that all 14 active cases that are at the isolation centers are responding to treatment.
Right, that's okay. Ivy, do you hear me now? Okay. Ivy doesn't seem to hear me, but she'll give us a top up on what's happening in the Volta region in the past that she has monitored. Let me go back up to the Upper East region. Albert Sorry is there with us. Albert, take us through the case counts, the hotspots. What are they?
Yes, so Gifty, we have 26 cases here in the Upper East region now. This number has actually stayed that way for 2 weeks now, if my memory serves me correctly. But let's go back to when we first recorded the first case in this region. The first case was recorded on the 3rd of April, and it was the pregnant woman whose story we later told about how she faced stigma after she recovered. So from the 3rd of April, we had one case. The cases moved up to 4 cases by the 12th of April. And then it increased to 8 cases and 1 death by the 16th of April. It then moved to 18 cases by the 26th of April, and then onwards to 26. And since we recorded the 26th case, we have not had any update of new cases that have been recorded in this region. But then the first 3 cases were, even up to the 8th case, were discovered by contact tracing of the first case. Only one other person in the Boko municipality, was not a contact of the first case by the time we recorded the 8th case. Now, what the Regional Health Directorate has been doing is to, give press releases to give us updates of the cases. After we recorded the first case, they used a press conference where they gave us the details, but subsequently they've always released a press release to give us the updates of what the cases have been. So 26 for the past 2 weeks. Okay. We haven't heard anything as far as new cases are concerned at the moment.
So Alex, that sounds like a good thing, really. 26 cases, and for the past 2 weeks you haven't had any updates. So there are 2 things here: that there hasn't been any update from the Health Directorate, or there hasn't been actual recorded cases. What we can report right now is that there hasn't been any updates from the Regional Directorate, right?
Yes.
Okay, well that's a good thing. So if you live in the Upper East region, why don't you send me a WhatsApp message? I'd love to hear what you think. What is it that you're doing there that seems to be working? Because if for the past 2 weeks there hasn't been any new record, certainly something good is going on there, and would love to hear what that is. Okay, so Albert, I will come back to you. The other 2 of our other colleagues have joined us, Richard Kojonyako from the Central Region, and we also have Precious Semevo, who's also joined us. Let me go to Ina Thalia Kwansa, Western Region. Ina, what's your update?
Yes, Gifty. So the Western Region recorded its first case on the 27th of April. That was in Shama. As of now, the Secondita Pride Metropolis case count at 120. And the Secondita Pride Metropolis is the epicenter for the Western Region, followed by the Takwa in Suaye municipality, which has 63. And then Shama, which recorded the first case, has 4 cases, When you go to Ahanta West has 10 cases of the COVID-19 cases. And then when you go to Efia Kwesimensim, which is about 5-10 minutes drive from Sekendi Takrady, they have 18 cases recorded. Prestia Honey Valley has 4, and then Elembele has 3. When you also go to Umpoho, they have 1 case, and then Izma East has 10 cases. Gifty, the trend has been that over the past 2 weeks, the Sekendi Takrady metropolis is always recording a case. Takwa started with 2, and now they have 63. So each day we have new cases being recorded. This has brought a lot of conversation. I engaged the Deputy Western Regional Minister Monday, and she told me that the Regional Coordinating Council feel very bad about the way cases keep on rising, because for them, they feel they're putting in all the stringent measures to put this on a hold. For instance, when Accra and other parts like Kumasi was locked down, the Sekendi Takrady metropolis started this barricade at our main entrances, checking people's temperature, checking those who are coming in. The Sekendi Takrady metropolis also initiated the social distancing at the market, which got most part of the nation talking about it, where other people even emulated it. So if the cases keep on rising, she thinks there is more to do, and then they would not leave anyone go scot-free if you are found culpable of not following the directives given.
I find it interesting that in the Western region had an example that everybody was sharing around, especially with how they treated the markets center. That people, there were mappings on the floor to make sure that there was social distancing. So it's pretty amazing that the cases are rising much faster in the Western region than it is even in the Upper East region. How do the residents feel about this? Do they feel responsible? Are they not, adhering to the protocols apart from what happened in the markets? What's happening?
You see, the residents are anxious, but these people are also not staying in their homes. Like the market we had about a month ago, which had this markings of 1 kilometer in a box with a separate 2 kilometer before you get to the next trader. Now, when you get to the markets, they are crowded. A lot of people are trooping into the market. They are not staying home. You go to town, and people are not really using the face mask. 2 weeks ago, the Assembly, STMA, together with the Navy and then military, had to go out in town. It's either they warn you or at least some few strokes on your back to let you know that we are in serious times.
Yeah.
When in front of the STMA, I stayed there for about an hour monitoring how the security guards were checking people in their cars. So when you come across that path, heading to Sekendi regional office, and you are not in face mask, what they do is they get you down. When you prove to be stubborn, they take you into the assembly, they keep you there for some few minutes. But if you cooperate, they just find a face mask or something for you, and then you get it. And then there was also an issue of social distancing in the truckies and taxis. They were not observing it, so they had to enforce the law then 2 weeks ago. But people are recalcitrant. They follow it for some days and then they go back to their old ways. Even though the cases are rising, they are anxious. But as to go through the protocol, it is becoming difficult. And this is what has become an issue for the Regional Coordinating Council.
I mean, to be fair to them, it's not easy to adjust to a new normal as we are right now. But it looks like there's the need for more enforcement and more reminders for people to observe these social distancing protocols. I'll wrap up with you soon, Ina. But let me bring in Richard Kojonyako, Central Region, sort of a brother or sister to the Western Region. Richard, when we come to the Central Region, give us the case count and how far we have come. But I'm particularly interested in the prisons and the fact that a prison there recorded a case that led to officers having to self-isolate. Give us your update and add a bit of that as well for us.
And so let's start from the 14th of April, where we recorded 1 case case, we're told that it was an imported case. The person traveled to the UK, returned to Cape Coast, and then was tested later, and so he recorded. They recorded their first case, so they started doing the contact tracing and so on and so forth. And then later, 2 additional cases were recorded in the central region. And then on the 26th of April, we shut up our case count shot up to 17. And then on the 28th, we still maintained the 17th. And then on the 30th, we moved a notch higher to 21. And then 2nd May, we went to 38. On the 7th of May, we recorded 50. And then on the 9th, we recorded 58. And then the subsequent, on the 11th, we recorded 127. Ever since then, our cases have been going up. Now we are getting closer to about 300 cases in the central region. And then what the health administration has been doing currently is to test all health officials. So the medical staff or the medical professionals that are in the various health centers are being tested. And so we go to Mori, for example, the returnees, those fishermen who were returning from Ivory Coast and other neighboring countries were also quarantined. And then some tested negative, others tested positive. But this, as of Wednesday, 13 health professionals or officials from the Mori facility alone, 13 of them had tested positive. We go to Upper Dejpa East, where 2, and now they have 3 cases, but 2 of them are also health professionals. You go to the Mfantiman municipality, and then a lot of the health professionals are testing positive for this virus. Now let's go to the Agafo maximum security prisons, where they recorded their first case recently. And we were told that it was a man who was jailed for 30 years. And then, those who are 7 very long sentences, they are sent to the maximum security prisons. And so when the person was sent there, they have an area that they keep the new entrants there. And so they subjected him to some tests, and then they realized that the man had tested positive. So they decided to do self-isolation. They decided to also isolate some of the prison officials. As we speak, the results for the 7 prison officials have not yet been given them. But what is currently happening is that they've started testing all the inmates of the Agafo site, the Agafo maximum security prison, plus the officials at that place. And so that is what is currently happening. Wow.
Well, that's a lot of work and a lot on our hands at the moment. Yesterday, though, we spoke to the prison's PRO, who told us that 12 officers are having to self-isolate, which means that there's an addition to the initial 7 that we knew. Right now, he says the figure stands at 12 officials who have had to self-isolate. Maxwell Kudeko has joined us. But Maxwell, it's good to have you. Let me go to Precious Semevo, who is joining us from the Bono area. Precious, what can you report from your side?
Fortunately for us, our situation here in the Bono region is not as serious as other regions have already, reported. In the Bono region, as at today, we have only 1 confirmed case, which was confirmed by the Health Directorate in the Bono region on the 8th of May. It happened in Sampa district, that is the Damanhur district. And this particular person is a Togolese national. He showed signs of symptoms of COVID-19. He was tested, and it was confirmed that indeed he has the virus. Measures were taken to isolate him, and then treatment started. But as at today, the Health Directorate, tells me that he is well and he has been repatriated to his native country, that is Togo. So as at now, in the Bono region, we have only 1 confirmed case in the Sampa, and even that he is well, has been repatriated to his native country, that is Togo. But according to the Regional Health Directorate, as much as they are trying their best to sensitize the populace as to the need to adhere to the safety protocols of the COVID-19, some few challenges, some few recalcitrant ones are making the job a bit difficult for them. Particularly if you go to the markets, which as of now we have satellite markets. One of them, notably at the Sunyani Coronation Park, where market women, have been sent there to ensure that social distancing is adhered to. Even at that, it is not properly being observed. My visit to the Coronation Park this afternoon clearly showed that as much as they are trying, but it is still not the best. More work needs to be done. When it comes to wearing of the face mask, Gifty, I must say that it is a serious challenge for authorities here in the Bono region, as it is becoming sort of a fashion. People just wear it and drop it under their jaw so that in case they meet an official in town who is tasked to enforce the wearing of the face mask, then they'll put it on. I think that is a disturbing situation that we have in the region. Now, they are also saying that the washing of hands under running water, it started nicely, but as the days rolls by, the intensity seems to be going down. And that is also an area that needs to be looked at. Now, within the last 1 week, I've traveled to some districts in the Bono region, the Brekum, Doma, Banda district, Wenchi, and the likes. And I must say that some districts, if you go, you hardly see anyone wearing the face masks, particularly the Banda district. It was very, very difficult spotting individuals wearing a mask. If you talk to them, this just seems not to be concerned or bothered by what is happening in the country. They believe that it is far away from them, and unless and until they hear of a case closer to them, probably that is when that they will start adhering to the protocols.
Some level of complacency we're seeing. Some level of complacency we're seeing there, which is what we also reported in Obuasi before we started seeing the cases surge. But if we're seeing all these problems, and I'm sure that officials have seen it, if they haven't, as you have reported, hopefully they've picked it up and they will be working on the areas that you have highlighted, Precious. But is it that more tests are not being conducted? What do we know? Are more tests being conducted? Because it is when you conduct a test that you know. If you don't conduct a test, you'll probably be thinking there's only one. Do we know if more tests are being conducted or not?
As at now, for them to conduct a test, then it is as a result of contact tracing that they'll conduct tests. But voluntary testing or mass testing is not happening as probably is happening in other districts. But let me also put on record that with the complacency aspect of the adherence of the safety protocols, the Sunyani Municipal Assembly, led by the Chief Executive herself, Madam Banahini, she has formed a task force together with the other security operatives, and they are going around the town ensuring that whoever comes into town, particularly the town central, will put on the face mask, or else you have to just go back. And some few, beatings goes on here and there. Occasionally, you see people having challenges with security operatives trying to enforce the law. But as I was trying to say, in their Hafo region, as at now, we don't have a confirmed case in the Ahafo region. Now, just about a week ago, one case was allegedly confirmed at Dema in the Tano district. But we understand from the Ghana Health Service that this person was a contact tracing from Obuasi in the Ashanti region. And after his samples were taken, he moved to Dema even before his result, could come out. So after tracing him, they only did that or found him in Dema. Apparently, he had contact with a lot of people. But the good news we are having from Dema in the Tano district is that all those who had contact with him, their samples taken, they all came out negative. So as at now, in the Bono region, we have only one. In the Ahafo region, we have none. And protocols, adhering to protocols is a challenge that authorities will have to work harder for us to achieve that.
Okay. So Anas Sabit, who also is in the Bono area, has been doing some checks for us in the markets. Take a look.
All of them has been proven negative. That does not mean that we should be complacent, because the pandemic is real and we need to continuously adhere to the precautionary measures. So, of course, yes, we have not registered a case. That doesn't mean that we are going to relax in our putting in place all the checks systems and then the precautionary measures.
I know you've toured the entire region some weeks back. After the tour, what checkups are you putting in place to ensure that the people at the other areas continue with the fight as expected?
Well, the tour exposed us to a lot of loopholes, and then that was the essence of the tour, and we've corrected that. After that, we met the team, the leaders of the district, and then those where we were lacking were corrected, and I believe it's getting better. You cannot expect 100% compliance, but you could see that the message is sinking deep to the grassroots, and look at the adherence measures, especially when we started the tour, face masks was just underused, but now you could see that it has improved a lot. And I believe going forward is one of the precautionary measures that is helping.
Anna Sabit had that interview with the Bono East Regional Minister Kofi Amwakohene. I'm going to go quickly to the Eastern region. Maxwell Kudeko standing by. Hello, Maxwell. Maxwell, do give us a rundown of what's happened in your region so far.
Well, the COVID-19 started basically in the Lower Menya district, and that spread through to the Sojaman district. But as you speak now, there seems to be an even distribution of positive cases across the region. For now, the Fantiakwa North district, the Nchembol district, Ekrapim North, Ekrapim South, Lower Menya, Sojaman, West Achim, Kwa West, New Jabin, North sub-constituency, and Abrim have all recorded cases. Now, according to the Regional Director of Ghana Health Service, Dr. Abeta Brichum, the Eastern region have recorded a total clinically positive confirmed cases of 170 cases have been recorded so far in the Eastern region. We've not gotten to the end of the tunnel yet, but we seem to be seeing some light. Now, out of the 117 cases recorded, we have had 86 recoveries. So 86 persons who tested positive have recovered. The good news is that all the people who were tested positive in Lower Menya, especially those who worked with the Afcon construction firm, all of them have recovered fully. And the 12 persons in Sojaman have also recorded. Now, the other person in Begro have also recovered from the virus. So if you want to do a proper deduction or addition from the cases, the Eastern region as a stand now have 31 confirmed cases. We are told that health authorities are still waiting for more results, but we can report that only 31 confirmed cases so far are pending for further interrogation. Director of Health Service informed us that they are seriously treating people, and they expect that by the next test, by the time the next test results will come, they should be able to clear them from the virus. However, we are also told that 13 health officials who work closely.
Looks like Maxwell's internet didn't pretty help him to land safely. But I do have most of our correspondents. I'm going to wrap up with all of you. Are you there, guys? What I want you to do, is to tell us how covering this has been for you in the region. Finally, briefly, each of you have a go at it. Tell us how covering this pandemic has been for you personally. Shall we start with Martina, you in the northern region?
Okay. A lot of people around still do not believe COVID-19 exists. And so people are a bit careless and reckless. That gives you the sense. Joining any group or reporting amongst people, you need to be extra careful yourself to stay safe. Mm-hmm. And so covering it is a bit hectic because you don't know who is positive or who is negative. And so you have to take up the responsibility to keep yourself safe. That's how come I say it's a bit difficult and challenging.
Thank you, Martina. Thank you very much. Ina.
Yes, Gifty, it's becoming more serious and more dangerous in the Western region because you do not know who you are meeting today or who you are meeting tomorrow, even though you are observing all the directives and all that. So going to do the things you usually used to do or going into the communities has become very difficult, especially when you get to the rural folks and then they think there is nothing like COVID-19, there's something for the rich and those in the cities. It's difficult, Gifty. It's not easy going about your duties the way you really want to.
All right. Ina, thank you very much. I'm not sure who next, but Albert, you're there, right? Albert, let's go for you.
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, so just like Martina and Ina have already said, the challenge is basically the difficulty in keeping yourself safe. But I need to say that in the Upper East region, people are beginning to take it seriously. And for most institutions, when you go, they insist that you wear a mask before you are allowed entry. About 2 days ago, I went to do an interview with the regional minister. And on her door, it was boldly written there that no mask, no entry. So I would say that in my region, a lot of people and the institutions are, taking measures to keep everyone safe. But then sometimes, even as a person, you tend to forget because this is not something you do all the time. So maybe you are interviewing someone, you need to sneeze or you need to clean your sweat, you pull down your face mask. Sometimes you even forget to pull it back up.
I know,
so,
right?
That's just one of the things. But then I would say that it's been generally smooth for me.
It's good to have you as well, Albert. I'm going to go to Anas Abid, who has just joined us. Anas, let's take your quick update, and then you tell us how it's been for you covering this personally, the very unique personal stories there are to share.
Well, Gifty, here in the Bono East region, the region still remain one of the few regions without a single COVID-19 case, and as a result, authorities here in the region have been putting in measures to ensure that the region will remain COVID-19 free. They've taken it upon themselves to tour the entire region. I'm referring to the regional minister, plus some regional executives touring the entire region some weeks back. And during my engagements with the regional minister this morning, he indicated that even though we do not have a case yet, they are ensuring that complacency should be out of the thoughts of the people. In fact, some parts of the region, the education is very positive. Talk of Tichima and Nkranza, Kintampo, people are complying to the safety measures being put in place. But the situation is not the same with other parts of the region. Heading towards Sydney East and Sydney West plus Prue East and West. The areas are quite not abiding by the directives, especially with the use of the nose masks and then the directive on hand washing plus the use of other PPEs. Those areas are still need much education, except that from what we are picking now, the situation has been improved now compared to when we visited the areas some 2 weeks ago. So that is the situation for now. And measures, among the measures that have been put in place is to ensure that security points are put at border posts. I mean, areas that shares border with districts that are having confirmed cases. Right. In Kejeji, for instance, right after the lake, they have cases in the Volta region. So they are ensuring that the ferry plus other routes that connect to the region are being properly secured to ensure that people are not importing cases in the region. So far, I think this is briefly the situation here in the Bono East region.
Anas, thank you very much for that update there, and thank you all our correspondents. Next time, we should have more of these conversations. Next time, I'd love to hear about the good things that have happened because of coronavirus, so we can, work around that one as well as we wrap up on today. I'm told that I ran out of time, so I'm unable to come all around to get your personal, unique stories. Let's put it together for the good stuff when next we have this conversation. Thank you all very much. I've been talking to Martina Buguya, Northern Regional Correspondent, Upper East Regional Correspondent, Albert Sori. We were able to have Rafiq Salam, but certainly we'll have him the next time we do this. And I've had Inathalia Kwanza, Western Regional Correspondent, and Nat Sabit, Bono East Correspondent, Maxwell Kudeko, Eastern Region Correspondent. I think I haven't left anybody else. We also had Precious Semevo, Bono Correspondent as well.